a safety plan is usually something that you develop with your therapist. Like you said, I can feel myself getting angry. And so a safety plan would be, okay, I recognize that. Now I call a trusted person who can take the next step so that this mania doesn't grow out of control. So for some people, like if getting on social media is one of your signs that you're getting too manic, then the trusted person knows, okay, let's take the phone and then we'll drive you to the hospital. Because I've heard when you're in a manic state, you can't really, like you say, you can't rationalize things, so you can't say, hey, I need help, take me to the hospital. And so these people know in advance, while you're in your right mind, like these are the steps that we need to take to protect him. Yeah. Have you talked to your therapist about that? Yeah.
I want to say when I was discharged from like a 45-day program at the VA, there was more, talks of a safety plan or kind of what to do when you're manic. And I know initially when I got back, like me and my mom had talked about it a little bit, but I
Welcome back to another episode of Mental Health Monday. Here with my boy Eli. What up, boy? How you doing, man? Little vet. That's a good grip. Hey, what's up, Jordan? Jordan, how you doing? No, it's fine. It was perfect. It's great. We're gonna live together. I'm looking forward to it. But tell people who you are and what it is that you're going through.
I'm Eli. I'm a veteran, bipolar, student, dad, and husband.
All right, what's it like to be a vet?
I don't know, to be a part of that veteran community and have that support system is very important when you're a vet. But I think the most important thing about being a vet, I don't know, it's a sense of pride when it comes to being a vet because of the sacrifice and the service, sacrifice and that comes along with your service. So I don't know, being a part of that. And being able to just play like, hey, I gave up a certain amount of time or, whatever it may be, a certain amount of time to the U.S. military and the government and like full support of it. So that's kind of what I take away from the vet, like saying like, nah, like I'm someone who fully supported, what the government or the military mission was, what they wanted to do. And, we're your everyday, citizen, doesn't really have to or really worry about it, but yeah.
So do you feel like the government respects and celebrates you in the same way that you respect and celebrate the government as a veteran?
That's a good question. They could be, I want to say yes. That's if they keep improving on the programs and keep sustaining it. That's a big, that's kind of up in the air. Are they going to keep improving on it? Are they going to keep allowing, more vets instead of trying to find ways to like deny them coverage or deny them any disability percentage. So I feel like America does a good job kind of making, because we have Veterans Day, making your veterans feel good that they made that sacrifice and giving us our own little like club or community. Just like any other, occupation, like nurses have a day, teachers have a day, but we get one and I feel that's, all they can do, the least they can do. Yeah. So
what I'm thinking about is the people I see on the side of the road saying, I'm a U.S. veteran, and they are homeless or they are hungry. And so did those people make a wrong turn somewhere in getting the benefits of being a veteran? Or like how does that come to be? And then they also have people who are like you who benefited from the services of the veteran.
Yeah. Because those who don't really benefit from, don't get me wrong, the benefits aren't, you still have to fight for them, to get like a VA disability rating, to get like, a monthly check. You still have to fight for those disabilities. You still have to want to. You're not reaching out. I feel like with the homeless veterans though, because they have that status, like why aren't we doing more for them? You know what I mean? Like if we're going to say, we're going to treat, veterans a certain way, we have to also count the homeless, the homeless veterans, because I want to say just because of their status, they should be, treated a little differently and give us some type of, special attention because they did make that sacrifice, and you know, who knows, because of that sacrifice and the toll it took on their life, did that help them, you know, become homeless? Was it them not managing the stress? Was it them not managing the reality or the shift back to the civilian life? And then, you know, at that point in time where they should have got help, they didn't. And you have to look at like, what's the help offered to them? Did they know about the programs? Did they seek out the help? And most of the time, I want to say, if I say them, like I assume most of them didn't. You know, didn't try to, you know, get any help. But there are, you know, from what I know with the veterans, there are a lot of programs, you know, for the homeless, those, you know, who are in need, who need temporary housing. They have certain programs, but you know, it's meant to just get you back on your feet and not really sustain you for the long run.
Is the information readily available and accessible? Like, how would a person know where to go if they're struggling with homelessness or?
I say the information, usually with the VA or VA counselors or, you know, therapists, like, they know about the programs, they can advise you on them, but are they, a lot of stuff with the VA or with any benefits is like, you have to know somebody who's already, you know, maybe used to or is familiar with the process, and then they can inform you and tell you about it. But yeah, there are still some things that most people don't know.
Yeah.
Or there's also new programs that they shift around or new ways to help you. And if you're not in the loop, or if you're not already connected to the system, like with somebody who can tell you about the update or this new program, then yeah, you know, you're pretty much, you know, like you're excluded, not allowed.
Wow.
You have to know somebody. I can't say you have to know somebody. You have to know somebody that knows that program, that knows that route. That's why you put yourself into, you know, into the VA system to eventually be able to, you know, get some type of update, some type of help.
It would seem though, like if you can come to my high school and I'm 18, or you can seek me out, you know where I am, after I've done my service because you convinced me that this was a good way to go, and I'm home, I should be presented with some type of package that says, hey, this is where you should go if you need these services. Not like, oh, I know my buddy who was in war and they got this, and so now I'm going to do what he said. You know, like,
Because we're not likable.
It goes both ways, because when you get out, now, I would say there's a lot of improvement now with everything, because when you get out now, there's usually a bunch of different briefings or, you know, different procedures and briefings that you go through. They inform you of certain rights. They won't inform you about everything, but I do think it would be important for a lot of veterans to get certain information or certain help, like when they are transitioning out of the military. Like I said, now they do better, kind of letting you know certain things, but it's still like for certain emergencies, certain crisis situations like that, you know, most veterans will go through, they have to understand and know, like, the best thing I can do is contact the VA, contact them and see what type of help I can get. But you have to, yet again, like, reach out.
yeah.
But yeah, it would be better, or I can't say, like I said, it is kind of better now, because they are informing you, they are helping with your transition out of the military a lot more than in previous, 20, 30, when you start getting to that point, a lot more than they previously did. So it has been, to me, a more an increase for how much we care about our veterans, especially, I will say this, like, we did Afghanistan, Iraq, 20 plus years, almost in both. And we did that with, like, mostly a we didn't draft. We had, like, a voluntary force, and we were able to continuously send troops. And the numbers adjusted more, there was different missions and different conflicts, so kind of we adjusted the numbers. But, yeah, there was still a big group of veterans we just produced, pretty much, by going into this conflict. So I definitely feel that even since the start of the war, because there's a difference, like, the early Iraq veterans, people who went in for, like, to topple Saddam in his regime.
That's like the 90s?
No, well, that's the second Gulf War in the 90s. Saddam was still in power then, but, like, when we actually toppled Saddam and, the 2000s, after, so after 9/11, we decided that Al-Qaeda or, Iraq was the enemy. After that, and it was pretty bad. There's a big difference in veteran services depending on your conflict. There's certain programs and certain things that are for specific veterans, and there kind of needs to be, because there's a big difference. The ones who deployed to Iraq, 10, 15 years before I went, they were there for like 2 years, 18 months. By the time I got to my deployment, I was only there for like 10, 11 months, switching between Iraq and Kuwait. But like just that extra time, some people didn't, the spouses didn't know the deployment was going to be that long. The soldiers didn't know the deployment was going to be that long. And, created little issues. But as they got out, I want to say we learned, to kind of adjust and make those benefits and programs more specific to, because, especially with just that separation or that increased amount of time they had to spend over there, a lot of veterans did have a lot of issues coming back. So I think they definitely did, more and learned more.
Yeah.
Especially, I want to say the difference between the veterans of, the global war on terror or the veterans between like the Persian Gulf War, which is the early 90s, it's still a difference.
How would you say your deployment affected your family?
Oh, well, my deployment affected me, I would feel like a lot. And even though it was a brief, a shorter time, I'm grateful for. But, for my deployment, I found out maybe 4 months before I was scheduled to go that I was going to have a child. So I was already doing my call it pre-mobilization, which is just a bunch of trainings you do before you deploy. So I'm already doing those over the summer. Found out I was going to have a kid, and immediately for me, I was like, all right, I'm going to have a kid, I'm going to get married. Had the kid right before I deployed. We had to induce the labor, by like a week or two, so I could be, still stateside, because it was really that close. And so I was married, had a kid, all within, like a 6-7 month changing period from knowing I was going to deploy to actually deploying. So for me, it was like how I give to anybody, no matter what, and this is what, all veterans can kind of share, no matter what conflict or mission that you deployed on, you still sacrificed and gave up that time with your family, your friends, your wife, your kids, so you do deserve credit for that. Not many people are asked to go international or go overseas to be away from their families for the service of the government, for the military. And but for me, it was big on like the separation. I want to say the separation, still feeling a little isolated, even though you're with coworkers from your friend, some of your friends, but you're with your coworkers, and it was more for me like after I got back, like for I never and I'll say like how women go through postpartum depression after they have a kid, and we don't look at like what also that does to men. Postpartum we got to separate it because like a hormonal change as well that goes along with it. But for men, we're looking at like or especially for me, like I had a kid, came back, had to immediately, find a way to now, I have to also provide, for my son and my wife now. Where before it was just, providing for her and myself. But now I have to provide for her, him, be stable. And it kind of put a little more pressure on it for me to succeed. So immediately I went back to, I got back, I was like, hey, let me go to school online, because I gotta get a better job. I have to, worry about my career. Same thing with the military, I had to worry about, being promoted in the reserve for the guard. And, I had to do more work for my career there. But it was really, like I said, when I got back and having to adjust to all that responsibility after, all this time away. But it was bad. I took it, like I said, took it head on and, had a pretty good run, but, still, for me, kind of broke down under all the pressure.
And even you had a kid. Usually people get time to grow with the kid. Mm-hmm. You came back to like a 1-year-old. Or like
he was about 10 months. No, he was about 9 or 10 months when I came back.
You were just jumping in head first with caring for an infant with no training wheels or anything.
Yeah.
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 What was that time like for you?
For me, I didn't really, how to put it, like when that time happened, it wasn't like, maybe I should have reached out to my dad or like other, I really didn't discuss me being a dad now or what parenthood was going to be. I really didn't discuss it with anybody. I just took on the role and just went head for it, head first. And then for me it was good. Like, having that love, like coming back, like that was a big difference. That kind of made it like coming back and building that relationship with my son and seeing that love blossom and grow. When I came back, I was And since then, I've been a more, I guess, more active parent, more hands-on parent. Like after having that time away, it kind of, it made me come back. And even the biggest thing, like, when I transitioned from one of my jobs, was like, I didn't play about being away from my son. I was like, I already given enough. I gave up like the first 9.5 months. Just like, so I didn't like play about like spending time with my son or what I was doing with my son. So it made me a more active parent. Like it made me do more things. Like, all right, when I get off work, I'm waking up at 4 in the morning to do like this, like a 5:50 to 3 o'clock shift. But when I get off, I'll go pick him up from his grandmother and say, hey, we're going to the playground. We were going to be active. We're going to get you outside. Make sure I still, spend time with you. And that was really a good part of my life to me. Like, and we still do our little playground explorations, and we visit a lot of different parks in the area. Because some different, this is me sidetracked, but we visit a lot of different parks in the area because they're all different. They have different equipment. It's for different age groups. And it's also better, like, not to always be going to the same park. So Montgomery County, PG, DC, like, I've been to a lot of different parks, but that started when I got back and really just wanted to find a way to spend more time with my son. And, I just, for me, I grew from there. It kind of made me a better father, like, realizing, like, it's a priority to spend quality time with him. And it's something that I already missed was that quality time, so yeah.
Has your medical diagnosis of being bipolar been a concern for you when it comes to raising him?
Yeah, only because, not only, I was raised by a bipolar mother, and outside of her 2 or 3 like manic episodes, those happened usually when I was older. I've kind of learned that, so I've been affected by somebody who has my same condition.
Yeah. And
when I had my manic episode when my son was 4, he saw my anger and my rage. And for me, like, knowing that that me being bipolar is definitely like hereditary in a sense, like, the biggest thing for me is like, all right, I have to do for him what my parents or my mom and grandmother both had it really didn't do for me, was like teach you the warning signs to look for it, to look out. The more I grow in my mental health journey, the more I grow with handling, my bipolar, disorder, the better it would be for him. Because what if it's hereditary, what if it, if it passes down to him? I'd much rather him have a stable parent who can guide him and who understands what it is, maybe some warning signs you might want to look out for, or just, us having that, or me building and establishing a relationship that even if we're, miles apart, he can communicate with me, and I can still be like, hey, he's off at college or he's with his, family, never stayed. Like, hey, son, well, you might be you might be, I can't forget, you might be demonstrating certain bipolar behavior, or anything that's close to being, manic. Maybe get the help now, or maybe get the medication now, but like, still, I want to be able to like guide him or help him. And also, it also has made me commit more to getting help or getting treatment and sticking with my medication, because I don't want to have another like negative impact on them, having them see me be manic or having them see me, because that's my biggest fear is like going back manic and being delusional, irrational, or having some rage-filled or angry, outbursts. So, but knowing that, it's a possibility, knowing I have a mood disorder, I still kind of look at the possible negative impact I can have if I don't keep keep it under control. And I know, and for me, it's not a hard thing. It's not like, for me, it's not like I'm fighting with it. I don't have fluctuations in mood like that. But that's why for me, it's just important, stay on your medication, look out for certain signs, and make sure that I grow enough and that I know enough that I'm able to help him if it comes to that.
What triggered your diagnosis of bipolar? Like, what happened to make you get to that point where you were diagnosed?
So, when I came back from my deployment, I realized I had some issues, depression, anxiety, and really just, I looking at like I took on a lot, like started paying, lost my roommate, well not lost, like voluntarily, moved out from my roommate with my wife and kid. She didn't pay any rent. I decided to go back to school. I had to keep working on it, for the military. I was, about to be promoted from E5 to E6, so I was like, all right, gotta get my body back in order, but my body was beaten, worn down. I had extreme back pain. I had to go to chiropractor, acupuncturist for a while just to like pass my last like physical test, PT test. And so I guess for me, I took on a lot: fatherhood, school, physical therapy. And then I was also working with the VA or my private insurance at the beginning to get, the medication treatment for depression and anxiety. But it kind of, for me, came to a head where after, right around COVID, so it's like, a little before COVID, but maybe a year after 2021, I lost my first job. I never really lost a job before. And I've been working at that place for 5 years. I was like a federal contractor for 5 years. So I lost my first job, was behind on rent, facing an eviction, had a car repoed. And this is all, and the financial part is like, because I was providing and doing so much without any help, that, that burden kind of overwhelmed me.
Yeah, one-sidedly in the relationship.
Yeah. But I wasn't, and even then I wasn't really expressing that as it was happening. I didn't really request or ask for much help from her. And then specifically for that, MANIC episode happened, it was more over a issue with me and my son, like me having time, like, because now when I separated from her, I was still having an issue of, now I'm separating from my son. I've already done that for 9 months. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really think about, would I have changed the thought differently, or, maybe try to fix some things if I had considered, like, okay, separating from her means less time with your son.
You initiated the separation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, like, leading up to that MANIC point, like I said, it was really just being overwhelmed by everything. Then, adding on the separation from my son, it caused me to have like a MANIC episode. I got violent, got angry, destroyed the car. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that's kind of what brought it on. And now I look at it, being MANIC, I try to look for, or try to think about, what were the warning signs? What could I have done differently? Because I was already being treated for depression and anxiety. I already thought that was the way to go, but even then I realized how that wasn't. When I started getting closer to my MANIC episode, maybe the last 4 months of it, when I was, going through therapy and all that, kind of still wasn't, it wasn't enough, because I'm treating depression and anxiety, but I'm not treating the, I don't have the mood stabilizer. I didn't have the antipsychotic medication that I probably would have needed, and that would have stopped me from,
But how would you have known? Wouldn't it be the job of your therapist or your psychiatrist to identify that?
Yeah, I believe so, and I believe I probably should have shared the fact that, that I had it, that my mom, my grandma were also bipolar. That probably would help me, like, oh, okay, so let's, maybe not change the form of therapy, but let's, address that.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was something that I really didn't even consider. I was like, I'm just a little depressed. Oh, I just get anxious every once in a while. Mm-hmm. Let me just treat that. Not realizing that there was, a bigger issue, or that it was, growing into a bigger issue.
Mm-hmm. Would you say, do you mind if we talk about your mom's MANIC episodes?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, we can talk about it.
What was that like for you, seeing her episodes?
For me, and I hope it's kind of the same way with my son, I was still understanding, and her episodes weren't directed at me and my sister. Mm-hmm. They weren't like, her anger or anything, like any anger or, her being upset or a little delusional. I would say sometimes it didn't really impact us negatively. Like the whole, like her being in the psych ward, the whole, her issues with, with the police coming to the house, 'cause, there were some issues, but it's still, to me, like, I was understanding of it. I didn't know what, being bipolar was, but I was like, okay. So my dad says she's this or that, and that's what's going on. All right. Like, it wasn't,
Yeah, good luck.
I don't think, it was definitely, still a stressful thing to see, your mom in that state. But I still, for me, I don't think it wasn't really traumatic to me.
How old were you when you first experienced her mania?
So I want to say her mania, I want to say around 16, 17 was her first bipolar episode, and then another one happened in a little while, 2 or 3 happened, but in total. Before that, though, like, my father kind of tried to explain, like, hey, when your mom's, she goes through depression. I remember her being on, like, Zoloft. So, but I remember him telling me that when he was trying to explain, like, her discipline us. So when it came to her form of discipline, at some point in time, like, he wanted to, me and my sister understand, like, hey, this is also a factor.
Well, was it harsh? Like, how did her discipline make your dad think you should know about her depression?
Oh, well, when it comes to using a belt to discipline, when it comes to, when you're disciplining and you're going from off, emotions as you're disciplining. So I guess he kind of wanted us to kind of understand, like, that, your mom's dealing with this as well. Or, that's the most you could, I guess, do.
Right. Like, it's not totally about you. It's really about what she's dealing with.
Looking back at that, now that you've gone through your own episodes, what would you say you came to realize or understand about your mom's experience when she was having her manic episodes?
Really what I realized is that even with her manic episodes, her love for me and my sister, like her being a mother and still like having love for me and my sister, that still existed. So it kind of taught me that, like, a person can be manic and still have, a part of themselves or a piece of themselves, or still have some type of boundary they might not cross. Especially not intentionally, but for me, I've kind of learned that too. Like, if even if I do have a manic episodes, I definitely think there's certain things I would still be considerate of, especially when it comes to my child. So. Yeah.
Can you talk about your treatment journey? Like, when you had your first episode, did the medication that they started you on work right away, or did you have to go through a few different ones?
I went through, so when they first started me, when I first got medicated, it was switching from antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication, they added on an antipsychotic because I was close to, I was in a manic episode, so, gave me an antipsychotic first, and then
You remember the name of it?
Olanzapine. So give me olanzapine first, and it kind of helped, but it wasn't until I got my mood stabilizer is Depakote. Yeah. So until I got the Depakote, that was for me. I went to the VA psych ward 2 or 3 different times. Let's see, after some things I did, I went at least 2 or 3 times, and every time we adjust the medication, see what I needed more of.
So Depakote wasn't really working?
No, so Depakote was my last and final.
Oh, okay.
And it was, I can't say, it was more like the antipsychotic by itself wasn't working, so pairing them together made it a lot better. But my third and final time with the VA, after I had and it was really important because I had just destroyed a car and assaulted my father-in-law. Pushed his head into a car, assaulted this man, all over me trying to pick up my son on Saturday, and him not being there. And me waiting for an hour, really kind of, it's not that much, but it kind of just triggered me.
It's a huge trigger, especially after everything you went through being deployed.
And also around that time, you were already been manic.
Yeah.
So you didn't just build up to be a manic that day.
No.
You were manic for like a month and some change up to that point, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least a month, a month or 2 of being manic. But I want to say, when it comes to just adding on different medications, for me, I can remember there were different stays at the VA trying to find this to adjust this, trying to find this and how it works, and in which and I feel like I benefited from going to a VA psych ward versus any other civilian psych ward in DC. Something that All right, that's good.
You make it sound like the civilians got it bad.
I mean, I only know from from
Right,
my mother's
yeah.
experience with it. And she's told me about her experience and some of the different psych wards. So I know that's the only part I know about civilian psych wards is my mom's. My mom explained it to me, but I don't say VA's better.
Right.
And I'm partial to it. So
Do you know if your mom ever stayed at PIW?
she asked, yeah. Yes.
It's a running thing. We're hearing a lot about PIW.
Yeah, and from what I know about PIW, it's not good. So she was there maybe all 2 or 3 times. She was hospitalized. I think it was PIW. But yeah.
Damn. All right. So you're a dad, you're a veteran, and you also deal with being bipolar. How have you found balance in this whole experience for yourself?
Well, being okay and kind of operating in the gray area where everything doesn't need to be perfect. I don't need to be striving for perfection.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to handle my roles in life a little better. So being a dad, that's a different role. Being a son, that's a different role. I'm also a student, working on my master's in human resources. Like being a student, that's a different role.
Yeah.
But I try to just manage all those. I guess manage all those separately without being overwhelmed or taking on too much. Because I realized, that it can be a trigger for me. I realized that if I don't manage what I'm doing right now, I'm trying to figure out a way to add on an extra class this semester. How's that going to work? I'm working part-time. I have my summer certain days. Is there something I can take on now? Would it be good? Yeah, I get to my master's program faster, but is it worth it? Still trying to, find that balance of how much do I need to put into it for a certain goal or outcome, and what can I handle?
Yeah.
As someone who, like I said, with being bipolar, I'm still trying to, manage my mood and see what changes it or what triggers certain things. So like I said, kind of just operating more in not looking for perfection in every area, just looking to be able to handle what I can.
Let's talk about you got.
What are your warning signs that you're about to go into mania, or have you identified that yet?
I definitely thought about it. I think it would be, I think for me, if I was to see myself being more angry or rageful, a little more emotional and not really rationalizing things, not taking my time, because that's what I do now, with any, I guess, situation, especially when it comes to dealing with my baby mother and my son, it's still having taken time to be able to rationalize what's going on. I know when I'm manic, I have no rationing skills. I know when I'm manic, I'm more emotional. I know when I'm manic, I could be a little more angry about things. So I know how it makes me feel. I know the kind of anxiety that builds up in me, and being able to kind of see that and manage that as something to look out for. That's what I try to do.
When it comes to safety planning, I know we had this talk recently. Have you sat down and thought about what you want your safety plan to be, to share with your family or friends in the future?
I think me and my mom kind of, initially we're kind of trying to, work on the safety plan. And kind of build. And she's trying, I guess my safety plan, I haven't really thought it fully out. I just haven't thought out the full safety plan. I know, with my plan, as long as, I would put, when I first went manic, or when I first had my manic episode, I guess call it part of my safety plan was still, going back to my parents, relying on them to help me. And now, my safety plan in the future, it'd be if I'm ever, in need of help, or if I ever need to, go back to, a psych ward for a couple of days to readjust, adjust my medication. My safety plan would still be to, hey, I have a kid, I still have to have my mom or my dad or my sister, have family members that can support me and him. So that's how if I have to draw back, if I can't do as much as I was previously doing as you know, as a father, I still have my parents. It's kind of, help raise them and help, watch over them. And it's simple as saying, oh, hey, I feel like I'm going through some things. I might need to go, to psych ward just over the weekend, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and adjust some medications, talk to the doctor. But part of that safety plan, like, hey, you guys can watch them all. You guys can take care of them. We already.
So a safety plan is usually something that you develop with your therapist. Like you said, I can feel myself getting angry.
Mm-hmm.
And so a safety plan would be, okay, I recognize that. Now I call a trusted person who can take the next step so that this mania doesn't grow out of control. So for some people, like if getting on social media is one of your signs that you're getting too manic, then the trusted person knows, okay, let's take the phone and then we'll drive you to the hospital. Because I've heard when you're in a manic state, you can't really, like you said, you can't rationalize things, so you can't say, hey, I need help, take me to the hospital. And so these people know in advance, while you're in your right mind, like these are the steps that we need to take to protect him. Yeah. Have you talked to your therapist about that? Yeah.
I want to say when I was discharged from like a 45-day program at the VA, there was more, talks of a safety plan or kind of what to do when you're manic. And I know initially when I got back, like me and my mom had talked about it a little bit, but I can't say that we have a straight or finalized plan. But just previously from when I was manic and I went back to them, like it was, my mom there too, like kind of like talking to the doctors, being that person at the doctor's call, trying to say like, really push for the VA to kind of like recognize like, he's bipolar as well. If it's PTSD or anything else, it's still, he's, bipolar. He needs medication for this or that. So she still had my back. So if I do have a safety plan, it's still more kind of wrapped around, still being able to get support for myself, get support, for my son, and knowing that, feeling safe in making that sacrifice to kind of take time for myself.
Yeah, Jory just gave you a great plan of action. Yeah.
Talk to your therapist about getting a safety plan.
Most definitely. And I think in your story, what I come to realize right now is if your son is okay, you register yourself as being okay to take care of what you need to. But our other side of the conversation is now, all right, after your son is okay, do the people around you have the proper plan of action and steps for you to take care of you after, which is really important. Because like as a dad, do you separate yourself, like in the convo, you're like, I'm a dad, I'm a father, I'm a son. Do you see yourself as all those things all together, or do you see yourself as a particular thing, and then there's like an order to stuff sometimes depending on the situation?
I kind of see myself as kind of all those things, kind of different parts of yourself. That's what I want to say, but I kind of see it like those different roles as me kind of operating or acting a certain way.
Yeah.
So, in my dad role, my son role, and, my husband role, it was still me having, my personality and my kindness and my heart, but like in those different roles, there's different sacrifices I make. There's different, there's definitely different things that...
different responsibilities.
Different responsibilities in all those roles.
So in all these roles, which one relates most to Eli? Because you just have so much going on, and I could see the management of, hey, as long as I'm okay, I can do these things. And like, for me, I sometimes ask myself like, hey, are you okay? Like for myself, before doing stuff.
So is Eli an artist? Is Eli a musician? Is Eli a nature guy? Like,
well, I mean, for me, like, I would say I'm more of a nature guy, more of a movie guy. But yeah, for me, I guess my personality and the role I take in my own life and my own, like, mental health, I think, yeah, for me, I'm definitely been trying to be more of a, I don't say more of a nature guy, but I kind of love hikes and going outside and I've been trying to explore different trails, especially with my son. So that's really the only the only thing that kind of makes me.
Yeah, because that'll keep you in balance, right? Like if you're doing the things that fill your cup, then you're less likely to be quickly overwhelmed by the other roles that you're playing in your life that serve other people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely trying to find a way to kind of prioritize myself and what I want to do. But it's the same as like how I was saying, like I don't, I have certain things I do. Like I'm a student, a veteran, dad, so I try to really still manage how much, but am I taking time for myself? Yeah, I've kind of taken time for myself to find different hobbies and things I like to do to kind of, it also helps with just, for me it helps with, not feeling alone. Because I also have to, I mentioned my role as a husband, but it's still like I'm been separated for like the past 2 years. And so kind of in that time, like finding me and what I want to do, as hobbies or as a stress reliever. And that's what I've been doing lately.
How pivotal is it that your mom is also bipolar in your journey and you get to confide in someone who understands what you're going through?
I wish we would have had, that relationship sooner, that understanding, that communication we have now. But definitely since my MANIC episode, our communication, the way we talk, our role has kind of changed also with like the passing of my grandmother who was bipolar back in November.
My condolences.
Thank you. So now, our role as mother and son is kind of evolved to change. I'm just spending more time conversating with her. But, that's something that I wish we would have had before. But it's still kind of good to have somebody who I can communicate with and they understand, the same thing. They understand what's going on. So having that person, that I can go to, outside of my therapist, outside of, my psychiatrist, I can go to like, hey, I'm feeling this or that way, what should I do? What's your advice on this? And that's kind of what I have with my mom, but I have that now. Like I said, I wish I wish I would have had it before, which I'm not saying we couldn't have. I just wasn't open about it. When I got back, I wasn't telling my parents that, feeling depressed and anxious. I went and got the help. But I didn't, at any point in time, I didn't bring them in to the fold.
Yeah. When it comes to prevention, looking back at it now, do you realize how your actions could have, I don't want to say be prevented, but folks around you could have been more prepared and aware of your situation?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think, for me, my partner or my wife during the time was the first one to tell me, oh yeah, you might be bipolar, because she knew my mom was bipolar. But it wasn't in like a, Karen, let's go get you help type of way.
Yeah.
It was in like, she saw me, being more emotional, and our conversations being more one-sided than me talking from emotion. And that's when she was like, oh hey, yeah, you're bipolar. But it was still, I didn't get any help from her. I didn't get any extra understanding from her.
It was like, you're bipolar, you need to fix that.
Yeah. But that, at that point in time, especially when we were getting closer to like separating, and at no point in time did I get any actual support from that spouse in the situation. But it did, I guess kind of opened my eyes. And even during that point when she said that, I still didn't like immediately go, oh yeah, she's right, I'm gonna go get help. Or, oh, she's right, like that's probably why the Zoloft's not working. The Xanax is not working anymore. That's probably, no, I didn't do that. And I would have, I like that from a partner, like to not just say, hey, I've identified this issue, you're bipolar. Where was, also like, all right, but you see I'm not getting help for it, where's the help? You see, maybe I need to communicate that to my mom or anybody like that. Like, I wasn't doing it myself, but like, where was that extra, like, that care to be like, okay, let me help them out. Like, like I hadn't been with the person for like the past 7 years. So if anybody should have saw the change, she did, and she identified it, but still didn't get, still didn't assist me in that sense.
Would you say that makes you reassess the way people around you treat you and approach you about certain things?
I would say, it changes me when it goes forward to me building relationships with others now. It changed me like to like now I know I would much rather be with somebody who's more of a certain personality, more of a caring personality.
Empathetic.
Yeah, it could be empathetic. Now I kind of know there's certain values that I'll have to seek or look for in a partner going forward. If it's emotional intelligence, if it's understanding of my situation and what I'm going through, that's what I need. But I also have to be upfront with what my situation is, or what how I might affect this relationship differently, or what hey, I'm bipolar. If I become manic, or if I start changing my attitude, start changing, maybe there's some signs that we can look out for together, kind of help as in making you part of that support system as well. But yeah, realistically, for me, it would have definitely helped earlier on if I had somebody, before months later, before having my mom, to kind of push for me to get my help from the VA. It would have been better if I had that person that was there every day.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, let's get you some help. Let's fix this.
Would you say you were always an empathetic, caring person, or is that something that you learned going through your marriage and experiencing your partner?
I would say I was always an empathetic and caring person. Beforehand, but I didn't have many serious relationships before I got married, so I didn't really kind of understand the whole being with somebody long term. Well, I know I was 23, 24, 22 when I started dating my wife. So, but I had no idea to look for certain qualities in person. Hey, we're making it work, we match, so
Right.
let's keep it forward. And it's still, it's still a positive relationship at that point. So.
Right.
One thing we don't talk about enough is the medication side effects. So we talk about how effective it is. We switched, it didn't work. We switched again. But what are some of the side effects that people should be aware of when they're taking different medications?
There's different side effects. I can shoot personally, with certain medications. I want to say my Depakote, it makes me have to take a cholesterol medication as well, because one of the side effects of Depakote is that it can raise your cholesterol. So especially and also with me just being pre-exposed to that type of condition as a black man, we're have a higher chance for high cholesterol and high blood pressure. So when they gave me Depakote, they checked my my levels and see if it's not affecting my kidney or my liver too hard. But so that's one side effect.
And high cholesterol can cause a heart attack.
Yeah.
So that's why that's important. Yeah.
So that's that, but it also made me gain a little weight. That was one side effect. One side effect of a lot of mental health medications is erectile dysfunction. So you have to there's some that obviously don't have that side effect, but you have to know when that happens. You can change that medication partner.
You remember the specific one that causes that?
I want to say there's a few. I know Depakote was one. Wellbutrin would be one that doesn't. But Wellbutrin, it's not just mood stabilizer. It's kind of closer to antidepressant. It's a slightly different one. But I know Depakote for one is one of them. That can have that effect, and it might not affect everybody.
Right.
It might even be different, but because you're also looking at when it comes to any of the side effects, them compounding together, the weight gain side effect can also affect your erectile dysfunction. The weight gain and the high cholesterol together can mess with your heart. So it's still those side effects and understanding them, and knowing when to go to your doctor, or your psychiatrist, and hey, we want to change some things up.
Yeah.
I'll take the whatever the medication switch is. We need to wind down on one before I come off, and then load up on another one. And that's just what we'll do. But you definitely have to be aware of the side effects.
Yeah. Olanzapine is an antipsychotic, right? Did you experience any side effects with that one? Sometimes you see a commercial, they'll be like, you might experience tardive dyskinesia, or
No, my mom did. I'm not sure if she was on Olanzapine when she had that. But no, so not tardive dyskinesia, not any
what is that?
I think it's
involuntary muscle movements. So you might not be speaking, but your mouth is moving, or you just have random drips and stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's because it's affecting the dopamine release in your brain. So dopamine is one of the things that affects your muscle movement That's why people with Parkinson's, they have a deficiency of dopamine, I believe, and so they can't make movements in a smooth fashion. So.
I think I saw that with Nisha before her time. Like after the MANIC episode with whatever she was on, I think I do remember seeing that too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty. I guess kind of like a pretty common thing that most people have to be worried about. Like, say, I definitely remember my mom telling me that that's why she had to have a medication change from her antipsychotic. But she didn't notice it herself. It was, I think, her doctor who noticed it.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, hey, you have tardive dyskinesia. And I think it was more like just something going on with like her mouth or her jawline, like kind of doing something like that. So they kind of recognized that. Like, all right, let's go ahead and make that change.
Yeah.
Was there ever a point in your mania where you wondered why me?
Or your depression.
No, I mean, I want to say maybe after my diagnosis and like fully accepting it, like maybe then it was more like why me, but also when I understood like, okay, it's, hereditary. There was no way, I was gonna get around it. Now there was no way I was gonna get around it. My MANIC episode could have been easier, better, lighter, could have been later on, but at any point in time it could have happened anyway. Didn't get off my voice question.
Have you ever, in your experience between being bipolar or with your MANIC episodes or depression, have you ever thought to yourself, why me?
Okay, why me? Yeah, I gotta say no. I never really, because I feel like why me is more, I can't say of a complaint when you're questioning. I just kind of accepted it. Because I don't really feel bad about it. I can't say I don't feel ashamed because it's still something like I'm outside of here, I'm not as open with my, with my diagnosis of my mental health. When it comes to that means I'm not on social media talking about it. I'm not on social media, talking about it or anything like that, but definitely become, more open with it. And because I kind of have to be, and I want to be more open with it. I want to kind of, if it's talking to other bipolar people, if it's actually going to, my therapist and being more focused on, just me, my bipolar, or my therapist being more like going to therapy for just managing my bipolar episodes or managing my bipolar diagnosis. That's something I want to do. Because like my therapy before when I took therapy was before I knew I was in, to me, I was in a manic state or really building to it maybe 2 or 3 months, maybe at least 2 months. I stopped therapy before a manic episode. And but in that form of therapy, I don't think it was because we didn't identify that as a problem beforehand. I wasn't even open with my psychiatrist about it being like a family, being hereditary, running in my family. So I still, because of that, I feel like I didn't get the right help soon enough. So now going forward, it's like, all right, with this, diagnosis, I kind of need to, be taking steps to, understand it and continuously treat it.
As you've become more open with your diagnosis, do you feel like people are more receptive and empathetic, or do they kind of like get turned off, like, oh yeah, well, I don't want to deal with that?
No, I think people, and when I say that, because I really don't, it's really only a few people I've ever, I don't, socialized too much. I have a big friend group, so it's really only a few people that understand it or that know it. I can't say they understand it, but that know I'm bipolar and, hasn't changed, and changed our friendship. I feel like, especially being able to see that I've been, pretty much the same. That I haven't changed much. I'm still a good person. It hasn't been like a big shift in my life outside of that. So, but am I as open with all my friends about it? No. I haven't gotten to, like, not even getting to the point where I'm okay with it, like, I kind of need to learn the point, like, when do I? So, like, if it's a spouse or a new friend or girlfriend, like, when do I kind of, express and open up about that part of me?
Pop the question. Yeah, pop the question. When do you pop the question? Like, hey, did I ever tell you about that time? Yeah.
So,
How's your relationship with your father-in-law now?
I don't see, I haven't seen him
Setbacks.
since the court case. When they asked him about, and that's what I mentioned him, like when they asked him, was he okay with me getting a plea deal, you know, and them being lenient, and he was, you know, all for it. But after, you know, that, the family didn't want to see me again. So it was, I think, 2 birthday parties in a row. But maybe, you know, the past 2 or 3 years prior, we've always done it with her family or at one of their houses. The last 2, you know, wasn't invited,
Yeah.
wasn't able to come. And I still want to apologize to him. There's a language barrier, though, my father-in-law. Yeah.
What language does he speak?
Spanish.
Oh.
So it's a language barrier with my father-in-law. But I kind of jotted up, like, you know, some words earlier in the summer. And my plan is to, you know, we'll go back over and kind of refine it, but like maybe write him a note, which would be easier, just to, you know,
Yeah.
send him a note on it. But her family, a family that the only time I see her family now, or I've seen them, you know, in the past with me picking up my son, dropping him off, like waving from the car. They've still been, you know, we've been cordial and polite with her aunt and her mom. But yeah, with her dad, any like family events that you were having, everything else, like just completely, you know, like just take it off the list.
Has she ever tried to help you apologize or figure out how to go about that?
No, I remember expressing to her maybe like before the trial, maybe 6-7 months. I don't think we knew it was going to be a court case, but I remember expressing to her, hey, I'd love to apologize to your dad. She said, oh, you can't. Like,
She said you can't.
yeah, you can't. Like, and I guess you maybe assumed like it was supposed to be because, like in a person apology, maybe because legally during that time, I could not go see her dad. But like, never did she think of like, oh, well, she must have just doing a letter or me writing up something to her, you know, translating over the phone for us or something like that. You know, it was just like, no, you can't. I was like, okay.
I'm happy you got out of that relationship because it doesn't seem like it was very supportive and it didn't serve you.
Yeah, I can
right
agree.
out my mouth.
I agree. It wasn't supportive. I was definitely in a situation where I was a giver with a taker.
Yeah.
Just that this taker, you know, might not have been narcissistic or with it, but you know, it was definitely a lack of support in a lot of areas, financially, mentally,
Emotionally.
All the
physical.
areas.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, if there's an area you're like you're isolated quite often in your relationship and the story that you told when it comes to her specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I kind of expressed that too. Like, if you in my life, you know, because we were together maybe 7, 8 years dating, and maybe 3 years, 5 years dating, and 3, 4 years.
I remember
marriage.
when it started.
Yeah, and it's like I still look positively on the relationship in the time we had there, but like I feel like my life would have been a lot different if I had known to pick somebody, look for a girlfriend especially that had certain qualities, or you know, had a certain was more supportive and a better communicator, and
As someone who has seen the isolated side of this and seen the supportive side of this, what have you developed rules for yourself to move by when it comes to having people around you or letting people into your life?
Got it.
I can say I've definitely now kind of looked more of setting up boundaries in my life, and like what am I going to do, like kind of inviting people in, like what am I going to still, because I have to look at it like, you know, am I a giver because I want to be a giver? Am I a giver because I'm a people pleaser? Am I a giver because I just have a kind heart? It's a part of my personality.
Yeah.
But regardless of whatever those reasons are, when I go to the next relationship with somebody, it has to be more of I have to see reciprocation of certain things, even emotionally. You know, when it comes to affection, when it comes to, you know, the energy I'm putting out, I know now going further, I want to see a certain amount coming back. I want to see someone making the same sacrifice I'm making. And maybe, and not, you know, it doesn't have to be equal, you know, with certain things, no, but I have to see that, you know, they're giving back. Now, I've learned that now, that that's something that I need. But beforehand, you know, I was just okay with what I had, with what I was getting. But now I'm like, no, I need, you know, a certain amount. I need to have, you know, boundaries set up so I know what to let in, who to let in, and how much energy to give out.
When you were in the military and active, do you remember that there were any moments that bipolar may have had an effect on you when you were in there?
Looking at it, one thing I will say with my deployment, there's definitely, even there was definitely like some lonely times. There's also definitely, I see now, like I had like maybe 4 incidents where I almost got into like a fight with people, like, and I usually, and before that, before deploying and being like all together with everybody, like I usually, wasn't that, aggressive or that, getting a certain complex, but like, and even then, like, it wasn't like a lot of these altercations, we were still talking, talk it out, talk through, and people get upset, but like it happened. When I look at it happen maybe like 4 different times. And, what's that me, or what's that, kind of aggression or angriness that comes along with me being manic or bipolar?
Yeah.
Was that, was I displaying that during that time? During all the separation and like loneliness? Then that's probably the only thing I can really, I think, identify. Was that I was a little more aggressive. And I had a little more anger.
Well, I mean, could you just be angry because you're at war? Like, I mean, where do you draw the line between just normal range of human emotions and bipolar?
Yeah.
Especially when you gotta get up at all times. Like if the alarm goes off, you don't get to take your time on building up. You gotta just get to it and get out.
Yeah.
What would you say what's the greatest piece of advice your mom gave you when she realized what you were going through? Because I feel like she plays like a really important part in your story.
I'm not really sure if it's advice. I mean, she definitely encouraged me to, stick with the medication. She encouraged me to, talk to my psychiatrist about how medication was affecting me. It wasn't, for the advice part, it wasn't like any big monuments or like quote or a moment of, I can, remember, I just remember being fully supported by her, in certain areas, but it wasn't any advice that really sticks out other than like, hey, stick with your medication, this is what can happen. If you don't, this is what happens, or, it'll happen, it'll cause you to be manic again.
Yeah.
So stick with it, find what works for you. So that's pretty much what I did.
What does private time look like for you outside of trails?
Better question. What's your self-care routine?
I can't say. I can say right now I kind of really kind of need to have more of a self-care routine. Right now I'm just filling it with like hobbies I like to do. I guess like I look at going to the movies. It's like a self-care routine for me. That's one. I guess my biggest one now. It's kind of just taking time, like going by myself solo, going to see something I like to go see, or just being surprised by the movie itself. That's become like a hobby for me. Self-care wise, I would like to do more pedicures, self-care wise.
Yeah.
It was something that was one of my tools. But I don't really think, like, outside of me, like, managing how overwhelmed I get by certain things, I don't really think I have much of a self-care plan. Not to where I've identified, like, I think I need to identify more things that's going to help me manage my stress and feeling overwhelmed. That's where I feel like I'm lacking. So
yeah, you have a nice beard. And if I had a beard, I would go to one of those barbers that does like the little shampoo and condition and the towel.
Yeah, steam.
That's super relaxing.
Should look into that.
No, I've had that done once. It's a little, but I've thought about it too. Certain, obviously you pay a little more and then, do the full treatment.
How much?
Oh, you probably these barbershops now, the facial like that.
Yeah.
I want to say you're probably running 60, 70.
Oh, that's not bad.
Oh, I thought you was gonna say like 120.
200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you tip maybe a little more, but it's still probably around the price of like me getting like a maxed out pedicure price. Price. That's how I look at it. Like,
does the 70 include the enhancements?
yeah.
Oh, that's
They would include when they add the The Beijing.
The Beijing.
Yeah. I paid less. I've had it done once. It was like before like a Christmas order. I'm like, y'all wanted something. When I take my profile, my professional picture profile for LinkedIn, getting that Beijing face, getting it shaped up real nice.
Yeah.
Just don't do the white line. That makes
Oh,
you
no.
That makes you look ashy.
No.
How do you view your care of yourself? Like, now that we're having this convo, we're talking about self-care, do you think, hey, I need to take better care of myself often? Or is this new territory that you're like, oh, I should have been doing this for a while now?
No, I'm definitely focused on like finding a plan and like actually taking care of myself. Because I know I need to. I know the benefits of doing it.
Yeah.
I know what like self-care can do for like just my anxiety in a whole, or just feeling overwhelmed. So no, just I wouldn't say in the past like 6 months to a year, like I realized, I gotta like take care of myself, like for my, it's for my benefit to do it.
Yeah.
When you invest in yourself, it's easier to recognize that somebody's doing it properly, investing in you.
Bars. What's your inner voice like? I ask this because for most of my folks I know who are bipolar, they tend to not have the greatest internal dialogue with themselves. And like, I usually want to inquire like, hey, how do you talk to yourself outside of just how you're treating yourself?
I want to say like now, when it comes to me talking to myself, kind of trying to still regulate my emotions, my responses, and my actions. So like, I really want to say I try to, with my self-talk, it's still trying to understand like processing my emotions. So it's like how do I put it? Kind of think about it, I won't say I hyper-focus or overthink on certain issues, but I will, my own self-talk, like try to, I can't say lawyer myself out, but I always try to, to rationalize my shit, like make it understandable for me. And, yeah.
Are you like, I really want to curse that person out? And your other side's like, no, don't curse that person out.
No, I mean, with a lot of people, my self-talk definitely does, my self-talk definitely does, kind of help me make the better decision and not, get to the point where I'm cursing somebody out or being, getting too angry. Because I know, like, me and my self-talk, but I know how I want to respond to certain things. So my self-talk just kind of helps me, as realign when I'm going through certain situations. Like, I know I want to remain peaceful or always choose the positive route.
Yeah.
So my self-talk is just kind of, kind of restating that.
Having a person like Juice in your life where he's constantly saying, you're doing a good job, that becomes part of your inner self-talk. You're doing a good job.
I don't know if I'd say that.
Because I never thought I was doing a good job before. I was like, you can always do better. That was my inner voice. But now being around Juice for 6 months, it's like, no, that's a good job, Jordan.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work.
You're doing a damn good job. Dead ass.
It gets annoying sometimes how much he says it, but
Yeah, and what's funny is it's like, when there's like folks who have the tattoo of like the lion that's like trying to scratch out of their skin and shit like that.
Yeah.
If I see one of my folks doing a good job, that's like how I feel internally. I need to let them know, yo, I don't care what the hell you thinking about what you're doing a good job. Because I know for a fact most of the people around us really don't let us know how great of a job we're doing. And if I don't say it, you're not going to get it past me, unfortunately, because like everyone has a lot of going on, or even if they do have a chance to say it, they're kind of just like, you already know. The assumption of, you're good. And it's like, just let them know. Well, you got them right now, let them know. So, yeah, you're doing a good job. I mean, you've heard me say that to you too, but I mean, I've also like seen you come out of it, because like I bumped into you at a mental health event I was doing at the skate park, and I seen you in your element when you was mid going through it manically. Yo, you remember Kendrick Lamar's Element album? And he dropped that track,
you were exactly that track. When you listen to it, you'll see. But yeah, and when I said, hey, you got to get it together, you got to get help, let me know what's going on, I appreciate the fact that you actually did those things, because you could ignore me and just been like, nah, I'm going to keep pushing, see you later, because there's other places I could go to deal with whatever I'm dealing with. And you decided to deal with yourself, and that's not the easiest thing to deal with yourself.
No, I definitely, I mean, for me, because I knew I had the resources or access to the resources to do it.
Yeah.
Because I already been trying. But like even like you know, think about how manic I was right before the mental health event. It was still me like knowing like, you know, I came here or I came to mental health event because I know like I need to be working, or you know, for my mental health. I need to be trying to advance or make it better.
Yeah.
But and that was still me. I was still, even though manic, I still had still trying.
Yeah.
So it was still me under there.
Yeah.
Trying to do certain things.
Yeah. While in first spec, but still finding what you needed for yourself. So I'm proud of you. Super proud of you.
Let's give it up for Eli.
Hey, my guy. Did you want the people to find you? Or do you want to just be left alone chilling into sunset and stuff?
Really?
You wanted people to know where you are. So they can be like, hey, Eli, I heard your
media.
story. I want to know more.
I'd like to talk to you, stranger, who I don't know who I saw on this episode.
Oh no, for sure.
Okay,
They're open
cool.
communication with that.
All right, cool. Where can they find you? This is your camera right here.
I think about my Instagram.
You got
Definitely got
it. Take
that
your
one.
time. I'm going to edit it out. You're fine. He sits really militant. It was kind of funny. I was like looking at the camera. He does the arm thing. They go back to it.
Right. My Instagram is Elijah, ELIJAH _202. But the O is OH. Yeah.
And what's one piece of advice you like to give to someone who may be in your situation that's thinking about getting help?
My one piece of advice is to take that first step to get the help, knowing it's a journey, and then many other steps come back behind it. But you have to take those steps for yourself. You have to, actually take the will when it comes to your mental health and controlling it, because that's, that medication, that therapist, that psychiatrist, that's going to help you avoid those potholes. You got to take the will and commit to getting the help, getting the medication, finding which medication works best for you, and just being okay with that everyday or with that everyday battle, because you have to put it up. You have to put up that fight, for your own mental health, because it's going to be there. The way you feel mentally is going to be there. When you like it or not. So the best thing you can do is actually start fighting back with the treatment.
All right, well, this has been another episode of Mental Health Monday. Appreciate y'all for pulling up. Like, subscribe.
Share and comment.
And thanks for coming through. Peace.
I like how you did that. Sure. Like, we got this plan.